أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وعلى الطاهرين. I begin in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. And peace and blessings be upon the best of His creation, the last of His messengers, Muhammad, and His immaculate family. Keeping in line sort of with the theme of speaking and really striving to bring light in the midst of a lot of the darkness that we're seeing in the world today, we see that so much of Islamic tradition really emphasizes the importance of doing just that. When you go and you take a look at the life of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see that the first groups of individuals who were ready to submit to the religion of Islam were three. The first one of them were the poor, the second were women, and the third were slaves. That during that time in the holy city of Mecca, when the Prophet began to preach the message, everyone else left him isolated except for the isolated. And when we want to take a look really within our own selves, as a people, as an individual, but even broader as a community, I think what is so beautiful about it is that month after month and year after year, this wonderful community of ours here at the Islamic Center at New York University really strives to be at the forefront of supporting those isolated and marginalized populations. And where there are lapses, and certainly there are, we're always going to put forth a more concerted effort toward being those people who make that difference. Sheikh Sahib mentioned a little while earlier about an anecdote of Imam Zain al-Abidin. It's really funny because I was going to mention something about him as well. Zain al-Abidin, the great-grandson of the Messenger of God, fourth Shi'i Imam. His title is Zain al-Abidin, meaning the adornment of the worshippers. He's also known as Sayyid al-Sajidin, the king of those who prostrate. Meaning someone who was really focused in terms of his worship and his obedience and his supplication with his Creator. That's seemingly what he was known for. And his son, Muhammad al-Baqir, he narrates that when my father passed away, I saw a couple of different marks on his body as I was performing his ghusl, as I was ritually washing him prior to his burial. Amongst them were the marks of prostration on his forehead and on his knees and on his palms. And amongst them were these marks on his back. And I realized that those marks on his back were from all of the nights in the dark of Medina when my father, he would spend his hours in prayers, and then he would leave holding really heavy bags of wheat and bread and food so he could be the one to distribute it to the poor, to the homeless, to the orphans, and to the widows, to the extent that it bruised his back. Again, when you take a look at the inspiration that we take from our tradition, it's about being in that state of real focus when it comes to our obedience, when it comes to our worship of the Creator, but at the same time, that inspiration that we gain from our worship has to be transformational. So that as much as we're building that inwardly, we're able to illuminate and manifest those qualities outwardly. And that's what we learn. So the prayers and the fasting that we're about to engage in a couple of months, in the month of Ramadan, or the Hajj or the Umrah, or all of the visitations and the sites that we go and we visit, or the fact that we sit here as a community and we make dua, we pray, or recite Quran, all of that is supposed to be a means by which we connect to God. And at the end of the day, that's supposed to transform us as individuals to realize that we have that purpose. And we need to dig deep down to really finding what my purpose is, what your purpose is, communally, what our purpose is. And when we talk about certain individuals who really exemplify the meaning of understanding the depths of their purpose and illuminating all of those most sublime qualities, because of their recognition and because of their God-centricity, so to say, I don't have the words really to speak to our next awardee. Sister Najah has done so much incredible work as the director of Zaman International. And a couple of years ago, when I had the opportunity to go and visit Dearborn, and she's probably not going to be happy that I'm going to say this out of her humility, but when I went to go and visit, my host picked me up from the airport, and that was the first site that he took me to go and visit. And he told me that Sister Najah is really busy, and probably she's not going to be there because she's attending meetings and she's always doing different things. And as I was touring their facility, I saw her in the kitchen, and she was cooking food with her own hands. We're talking about an institution that has supported more than 250,000 people sort of in the local region. And due to the humanitarian efforts of Sister Najah and Zaman International, has been at the aid of more than 2 million people across the world. And again, when you go back to those examples, that of the Prophet, that of Ali Zain al-Abidin, you see Sister Najah is one of those women who really walk and tread in their footsteps. She was cooking food with her own hand, and I can imagine that that same food that she was cooking in her facility was going to be redistributed to the poor, to the isolated, to the marginalized, to the widows, and to the orphans in the local Detroit region. This past year, in 2019, she was nominated to be amongst CNN's heroes. And if you have an opportunity ever to go and visit Michigan, please make sure that you take a stop to visit Zaman International so that you're able to get a glimpse of all of the incredible work that she is doing and that she has done and that she continues to do. So without further ado, I would like to invite Sister Najah Bazzy to receive our next award.
Thank you, everyone. Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. I again extend my salams to each and every one of you. Brother Fayez, thank you so very much for that beautiful, beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. To the Islamic Center at NYU, I'm so impressed. Very, very impressed. You start on time. You keep your program going. This is a cultural shift for Muslims. I attribute it to the next generation. This is the American Muslim generation that understands time is important. Brother Ibrahim, thank you for leading this evening. And I had mentioned to you that I think I know your mom. And in fact, I will tell a quick story. I saw Sister Khadija at Yale during Muslim chaplaincy courses that we were doing, and she said something that just hit me. She was speaking, and she talked about people who were differently abled. And that's a word that I use, and it's a word that I've used since I was a young child. I have a brother with muscular dystrophy, and so he is differently abled, not disabled. And those words came out of her mouth at the podium that day. And so I will never forget that, because it was a moment of what I call a spiritual synapse that had happened. I would like to also acknowledge that Sister Khadija and her daughter and Brother Ibrahim, I know that you lost your sister. Your mom shared that with us. And we pray, inshallah, that she's in the highest of heavens. And I do say in the end of life work that I do, that while we say hello and then goodbye, we say hello again. And the second time, we never have to say goodbye. So it's 2 hellos against 1 goodbye. And I think that's something very beautiful and something to always reflect on, and for all of us to always remember, because grief is not easy. It hurts. So God bless her, and God bless you and your family. Imam Latif, thank you so much, Imam Khalid Latif, for all the emails back and forth and for extending this wonderful invitation. I deeply appreciate it. They asked me to speak for about 15 minutes or more. When do you ever get asked to speak longer? So I'll tell you a little bit about the Zaman story. I know that everybody, many of you, not everyone, knows about the CNN Heroes Award. And that was really, really a wonderful, wonderful tribute to Zaman International. By the way, someone left their bracelets up here, unless they're going to be auctioning these off. Just FYI, gold bracelets. It's been humbling This work has always been humbling. It's not easy work to do. It really is not, but it's the necessary work to do. Some of you may know the story of Zaman International, many of you may not. I will take a moment to tell you just a little bit about Zaman because, as Brother Ibrahim said, this is all about extending ourselves. And I think that really is the story of Zaman International. Zaman means time. And so it's about how we spend our time in the stewardship of others. And I really do believe in that. There are 3 words that I really want to talk about. And we throw these words out there like they're just nice words. But these aren't just nice words. These are words that we truly have to live by. And those 3 words are love, mercy, and hope. Sometimes you can overuse a word so much that it actually loses its validity. Correct, Imam Sohail? But when we use these words, they are so connected to God and to our Creator because God's love extends to everything in this universe. So we must extend ourselves to everything in this universe too. God is love. And if we talk about God's love and we want it for ourselves, how is it that we can limit it to others? That's not been a concept I've ever really quite understood. That we have limits upon love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a famous hadith Qudsi, of all of the things created, mountains majestic, oceans deep, nothing can contain His love like the human heart. It's where God exists. That is the sanctuary. That is the masjid. That is the mosque. It's in us. It's programmed to love and to know. So when we inch away from that love, we're really depleting ourselves of the mercy of God. So this idea that God extends to all things created, I believe in that. That His love extends over all things created, I believe in that. And that His mercy extends to all things created. We all believe in that. But how does it manifest? How do we manifest that love, mercy? So here's the story. There was an Iraqi refugee family. Back in 1996, I was working in the hospital. I'm what's called the clinical transcultural nurse. So that means not that I just take care of Muslims, it means it's a systems of approach. How you approach a healthcare system, and you work in a healthcare system to accommodate, negotiate, and repattern things that need to be done in a hospital. So it did not matter if it was a Jehovah's Witness or if it was a Muslim or whomever it may be. It didn't even have to be a person who identified by religion. What was the need, and how do you navigate it with the hospital system? So this Iraqi refugee family had come from Iraq, and they had lost over 13 members from their family, husband and wife, little bit of extended family. They had a couple of other children. She gave birth to 2 twins. The first twin died immediately, and the second twin lived for about 3 months. So that second twin was in the NICU, what we call the neonatal intensive care unit. They wanted to remove the ventilator from that baby because the baby was ruled by the ethics committee what we call futility. That means that the state has the right to remove the ventilator and the parents don't really have a say. Well, this family had gone through so much grief. Their religious tradition did not allow removal of the ventilator. So I was involved to try to accommodate, negotiate, repattern whatever we could to make things a win-win. I managed to get the baby home with a little bit of a hospice program on a ventilator. It's kind of unheard of because hospice doesn't naturally do that. But I think it's just the grace of God, because that baby's life has a legacy 2.8 million people later. So what happened was I went to visit the house, and the house had nothing. You know, when my arrogant self, because we all have a slice of that, I thought they were moving in. They had nothing in the house. Nothing. Absolutely nothing except for a carpet. So of course I assumed they were moving in. I didn't grow up with wealth. But if we were poor, we didn't know it. So when I asked to see the baby was in a laundry basket with clean white towels in the laundry basket that still had tags on, and the baby was dying in the laundry basket. That's what you call, folks, resilience. Because those parents had nothing, but they figured out how to construct what they considered a crib for that baby. My breath was taken away. They had so much dignity and so much hope, the two pillars of Zaman's ethics. And I just held myself. So I want to break down and cry in front of them. I cry a lot. Anyone that knows me knows Najah cries like that. Johnson & Johnson commercial on TV, I'm bawling my eyes out. I cry very, very fast. So I held myself just so that I wouldn't insult them in any which way. No refrigerator, nothing like that. You can read the story on Zaman. And I left. When I left, I just let it all out. Cried, called my mom, got my children involved. We rented a truck, and we just kept stocking the house with all the things my mom didn't want because she was moving. That's the beginning of the story. I have a question for you. When we speak about extending ourselves, Brother Ibrahim, God's love and mercy, what would you do? If I asked you to raise your hands, would any one of you have walked away without doing something? No. Every person in this room would have done something. That's all I did. I just did something. You shouldn't get an award for doing what's right. The second story was finding over 220 babies that had been stored in jars and tubs in a pathology lab from 1995 to 2002, unburied. What would you do? Would you walk out of that pathology lab and not do anything? I guarantee you every person in this room would have taken action. You don't deserve an award for that. Zaman has since grown. From the back of my van, 15 years in the back of a van with my children, a group called the YMA Young Muslim Association, a lot of love and determination to make this world a better place. We moved from refugee resettlement as our focus into marginalized women with children, and I don't like to use that word, marginalized. Women who are living under $10,000 a year, all in, with their subsidies, trying to raise their family. Zaman has a plan, and that plan is called open heart bypass surgery, because that's what I used to do as a nurse. And I just figured out, you know what, we can bypass poverty the way we bypass a heart. Just unclog that artery, whatever that barrier is, and get blood flow back into that beating heart of that family, which is that mom. A mom falls, 3 and 4 fall behind her. We have a responsibility. We have a big responsibility. I was just in California at the California State Assembly. New York was the talk of the town. New York is #1 for homelessness. California #2. We can't have these dialogues about what we call poverty. I don't even like that word because it's a stigmatized word. Marginalized is a stigmatized word. Homelessness is a stigmatized word. People are houseless. People are hungry. People need help. And I take no credit for this because this is my faith. Zaman does not have to have a dome over its head to make a difference. The world is there. 6,000 volunteers, over 455 partners, 76% funded by grassroots money from the communities because it makes a difference. 94 cents on every dollar impact. That's a big wow. But that award belongs to every mother, every child, every baby that we buried, every employee, every donor. Everyone owns a piece of that award, and I truly accept it in their honor. We're not taking much with us. I do end-of-life work. I have watched hundreds of people. I've watched hundreds of people leave, and I've learned something. In those last moments, it's all about hope. And you cannot define someone's hope. You simply cannot define someone's hope, nor should we. If it's hope for their next meal, if it's hope for shelter, if it's hope for literacy, vocational training, whatever it may be, we have to do it. Fatima Zahra, the beautiful daughter of our blessed, beautiful, beloved prophet of God, peace and blessings be upon them, she said, Ijar qabla ad-dar, which means the neighbor before thyself. And so in our prayers, in my personal prayer, I pray every day, and I ask you, if you do not already, to join me in that prayer, that God take care and feed every hungry person, every orphan that misses their parents. These are responsibilities upon us. So I'm not doing anything special. It's just the right thing to do. It's simply the right thing to do. It's a very simple equation. But it is a big charge. Whether we're building a well, we're in 20 countries, people around us, whatever it is, the goal now is to get the message out about how to build an organization with the ethics of humanity. And if we don't start being really nice to each other, if we don't start caring and loving from the bottom of our heart, really, really caring, even to the point where it hurts a little bit, to deprive ourselves for the sake of others, we're really missing out on the big picture. And that big picture is that love and that mercy and that hope that can extend out of our hearts and into the world. You are shining lights. You have a purpose. You have to just go out in the world, and many of you have. Our beautiful sister, she's doing it, and just let that light come from your heart and just shine into the world. We're a force of goodness. As long as we believe it and do it, it will manifest itself naturally. I thank you so very much for this honor. It's really an honor to be here today, to see this beautiful skyline. And I would like to thank my son Bilal for being here with us, and he lives in New York, so I get to come visit him very often. And our Chief Impact Officer who led the CNN campaign, Monica Boomer. Thank you so very much, everyone. May God bless you and protect you and give you all the love, mercy, and hope that you need to make it through every single day. Assalamu alaikum.